arms comfortable. If you're watching at home, if you have a strap, let yourself get a strap handy. We're also going to use bolsters, but if you don't have a bolster, you can always use a blanket. So if you have a blanket later on, you can maybe use that instead, or get a bolster if you have one. And then let's sit comfortably, whether you stretch your legs out in front of you, in a chair, if that feels better for your hips, or on the floor. Sitting up on a blanket there if you feel better doing that. But just close your eyes and appreciate feeling your breath coming in and going out through your nose. Letting your face be soft. Let your next exhale bring your hands to meet right there in front of your chest. And spread your fingers a little bit and then let your head come forward. You can look at your hands if you want, but just feel that connection through each of your fingers. Kind of individually press each finger into the other one there for a few breaths. Just release there. Feel the hands, the thumbs together, whatever part of your palms touch. And then on your next inhale, bring your gaze back forward and let the hands rise on up, maybe higher than the head, depends on you how high. And then when you exhale, let the hands come back down to be in front of your chest. So we'll inhale the hands up, only as high as feels good for your shoulders. And on the exhale, let them come on back down. So let yourself continue that with your own breath. So the speed of your own breath and how long your inhales and exhales take just depends on you. And the next time your hands come back down to be in front of your chest, stay there. And now we'll just go across the body. Go over to one side with the hands when you inhale. And then come back across and go over to the other side when you exhale. So just letting yourself, again, move with your breath. Just bringing the hands side to side. Only going as far as feels good. And the next time that you have your hands back in the middle there, right in front of your chest, let them stay there. And let's unfold our arms on down beside us. And as we inhale, bring the arms forward, make one big arm circle as you bring the arms up and overhead and reach back behind yourself as much as you can. And then we're going to reverse and inhale, reach back with the arms and up overhead, bringing the arms on forward and down. Good. Take a nice inhale here. And on the exhale, twisting to your right. So bringing yourself around, left hand towards your right knee or towards the midline, depending on how it feels for you. Just lengthen up. Feel that sense of release in the back of your throat. One more inhale. And on the exhale, come on back around through center and all the way into the other direction. So waking up the spine. Feel that twist in the middle of the back. Feel your sitting bones pressing down into whatever surface you're sitting on. One more inhale. And let your exhale draw you on back around into center again. And let's stretch our legs out briefly. And if you're cross-legged, just remember which one you're on, because we're going to switch in a second here. So take your feet on out, circle through a little bit. You can do little leg bounces if you're on the ground. You can do little wiper blades if that feels good. And then we're going to release on back. And if you're cross-legged, go ahead and switch the leg that you had in front. And this time, let's come a little bit forward and back with our breath, letting your exhales bring you forward and your inhales bring you back. That easy movement, that easy rocking sensation with your breath. Keeping the spine nice and long. Good. And the next time you come forward, and that might be like an inch or two, right? You can support yourself however you need. You can go farther forward if you want to. If you're in your chair, it feels good to separate your feet wider you can. You can bring your hands down towards the ground. Same thing on the floor. You can come as far forward as feels okay for you, letting yourself imagine that you're coming forward from your low back. And then maybe if it feels all right to hang your head around a little bit into the upper back, do that, but not to where you feel discomfort at all in your back. You let your head move around a little bit once you're there if that feels good too. And be aware of feeling the weight of your head. And we're going to slowly make our way back up from here. Now, reach over and get a block. And if you all are on the floor, you're going to stretch your legs out and bring your block right above your knees, the narrowest part of the block between above your knees there. In the chair, we're going to put our feet down and do the same thing, right? So squeezing gently into this block here. You can put your hands on it and lengthen up through the top of your head. And when you squeeze into that block, you feel your inner thighs into the block. But imagine them dropping downward a little bit if you can. So as you're squeezing, man, you can feel your legs here, right? Really let yourself come up into the hips. Take an inhale. And on the exhale, we're going to twist towards our left. So bring yourself around, left hand on around, maybe draping over the back of the chair or maybe fingertips on the floor. Keep squeezing, though, because there are your legs and your hips and your core. Feel how your belly is working and your low back. One more inhale. Keep squeezing inward as you come all the way around and into the other direction. So really letting yourself engage there in the legs. Keep sitting up as tall as you can, feeling that length in the back of your neck and throat. One more inhale. And on the exhale, come on back around into center. And then let your block come on out. Thankfully, that's a lot of work in the legs, more than you even realize you're doing. And then just move through your feet again a little bit, shake out. We're going to come around towards our hands and knees or towards our hands being up so that we're not down on our knees, right? So if you need to use a blanket under your knees, if you're on the floor, by all means do that. Or if you need to have a blanket under your hands. Make fist if you've got some issues going on where it feels painful in your wrists, right? Really be mindful of that. And take your time as you start to ease your way through your spine a little bit. And see if it can be like the most natural feeling ever. It's very easy just to feel that flowing through the back. Letting yourself release. Feeling that flowing through the spine. And also imagine that the head is kind of a part of your spine. So when you start to move with your tailbone, say you're moving the tailbone back and up and moving into your cow pose, your head will be the last thing that kind of comes up at the end there. And it's the same thing if you draw your tailbone up under you and then move on up through the back. Your head is that last thing that comes and hangs when you come into your cat pose. So just enjoy the flexibility you can find there. Finish off the one that you're on. And we'll come on to a more neutral spine, back to neutral here. Let's step our left foot forward, our right foot back, and come into our first lunge, whether your hands are up on the chair or on the blocks, any height. Draw your shoulders down, away from your ears a little bit here. Feel that engagement of your belly. And now be aware of opening up the back of that right leg with the heel directly behind your foot. Good. And enjoy. Feel your whole body in the pose. Nice. We're going to switch legs. So however you'd like to switch, whether you like to step forward or backward. And then getting that alignment there of that front knee. Make sure it's not bent farther forward than your ankle. And then be aware of reaching back with that heel of the left foot directly behind your foot. And then again, engage the belly a little bit. Find that length through the whole body. Good. And we're going to switch legs again. Now your inner thigh, once you get into your lunge, the inner thigh of that right leg is kind of reaching up towards the ceiling. That'll line the heel up back there. And your left inner thigh is kind of dropping down towards the floor. If you want to put your left hand or forearm up on your thigh there, you can. If you like to bring a little more out of your hands into your legs and your hips. And we're going to switch legs again. So take your time. Left foot comes back, getting into that lunge. And again, you decide as you feel that right inner thigh dropping down and the left inner thigh going upward. You can put your hand or your forearm onto your thigh. Don't need to, that's not necessary. Good, and then we'll bring our hands down and we're going to step forward and come on into standing forward bend. So be mindful, use whatever support you need. You know it's fine to put your elbows above your knees. Let yourself release your head, let the head hang. Let go through your jaw. You know, bend the knees as much as you need, and you definitely don't want to lock your knees, so just make sure you get that sense of opening up the backs of the legs without jamming back into your knees at all. Watching your breaths all the way in and out. Let go through your face and your jaw. So if it helps you to kind of separate your teeth a little bit, one more breath here. And we'll let our hands now come on up to our hips. We're going to bend our knees, press into our feet, and rise up to standing. And inhale our arms all the way out and up. And let our exhale bring our hands right down together in front of our hearts. So adjusting your way into mountain pose, whatever you need to do. If you need to look at your feet, if you need to walk a little bit, get yourself set there where you feel very evenly distributed between your feet, letting your hands just gently come to meet there in front of your chest. And whether you like to have your eyes opened or closed, just get that sense of looking out beyond the wall of the room, like you're looking out at the horizon. Maybe even imagine you're standing out in the middle of a very empty, open space, feeling the air all around you. And even imagine that you're breathing in and out through your skin. If you were to breathe through every pore of your skin, in and out, feel very energized and very balanced through your body. And we'll unfold our arms on down beside us and inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And on the exhale, bend your knees a little as you come forward from your hips into your standing forward bend. And let your next inhale help you find that nice flat back. Whether you put your hands on your legs somewhere or on your blocks or on your chair, And we're going to step the right foot back and come into lunge. Draw your shoulders down. Let yourself enjoy now. Feel the feet in the mat. Inhale. And exhale into your downward facing dog pose. So whether your hands are on blocks or the chair or the floor, totally up to you. Just remember, it's a very different feeling, the height of the hands. So you got to adjust where your shoulders feel good. You want to let yourself feel like you're reaching equally back through your sitting bones and feel your elbows hugging towards each other. And on your next inhale, come on out towards a plank. And you don't have to go to full plank. You can, if you want to put your knees down, do a half plank. And you can go down to your forearms, do a forearm plank. You can do little push-ups if you want. You can bend your elbows, let yourself come a little more strongly into your biceps and into your arms and your shoulders. And then you can come on back into down dog. Walk your dog a little bit if that feels better to you, to let one knee at a time bend, to give a little release there to the backs of the legs. Good. And then come on back to your full dog, and we'll bring our right foot forward to come into lunge. So if you need to put your left knee down to get there, or both knees down, whatever works to get there, into the lunge again. And then we'll come on back to standing forward bend. Feet hips distance apart, parallel, and ease your way. If you need support, feel free to put your hands on blocks or the chair or your elbows above your knees to support you so your back is lengthened. Or you can go ahead and fold forward, hands towards the floor, or even hold your own elbows if you like that added kind of extra traction feeling of your spine. And just be mindful. Feeling the weight of your head, accepting those full deep breaths. So feel how the ribs expand outward as you inhale. Bend our knees a little more deeply. Let our hands come to our hips as we press into our feet and rise straight up. And inhale our arms out and up overhead. Letting our exhale bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. Take a breath here in your mountain pose. Feel lengthened up through the crown of your head. And then we'll inhale the hands right on up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms like wings as we come on forward, back to standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find that long, flat back. It's fine to bend your knees. And we'll step the left foot back and come into lunge. Good. And inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog. So again, your dog is yours, right? Where you need to have your hands, what height you want to be. Elbows are gently hugging towards each other as you feel that length through the spine here. And on the next inhale, we'll come out towards that plank again. Totally optional, whether you put down your knees and do a half, or come down to your forearms, do a forearm plank. Let yourself come into little push-ups if you want. And then we'll make our way back again into downward facing dog pose. And this time, the left foot comes forward to come into lunge. Again, whatever you need to do to get there. And then we'll come back into standing forward bend. So take your time, go right to your breath, and see if you can let your inhales and exhales even out a little bit. So when you breathe in, let yourself count, whatever count you reach. It doesn't matter what it is. And then when you exhale, think of reaching that same count so that you become a little more even between the inhales and exhales. And if it feels good, you can even extend your exhales out longer than your inhales. But don't force it. Just kind of play with it a little bit. One more breath. And then we'll bring our hands back up to our hips. Bend our knees and rise up to standing. Let's inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on the exhale, bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. And now clasp your hands, send your palms out away from your chest here now, and start to press out into the heels of your hands. So try not to roll forward with your shoulders. Feel like you're almost like your chest is coming forward a little bit, but at the same time, you don't want to let go of the belly. You want to feel that belly engaged and the tailbone reaching down towards between your heels. And then see if you can rise your arms up higher and higher and higher. Take your time. Let yourself just reach up, pressing up into the heels of your hands. And we're going to move over to the left a little bit so we come into a stretch for the right side of the body. I mean, you don't have to go far to feel it. If you press up into the heel of that right hand, you're going to get more space between the ribs. And then we'll come on back up to the top, and we're going to go the other way. So again, you don't need to go far. If you then just really concentrate on pressing up into the left heel of that left hand there. Good. And then we'll come on back to the top. Let's bend our elbows, bring our hands right behind our head. And now just press your head into your hands. So you're not really letting the hands go backward at all. You're just pressing your head into your hands. You feel how, bend your knees a little bit. Feel how your belly engages. You feel your hips. Let yourself feel that engagement there in the core of the body just by pressing your head into your hands. Good. And then let yourself release your hands on down beside you. And let's inhale the arms all the way forward and up overhead. You can look up if it's comfortable for your neck to do that. And on the exhale, bend the knees. Come on forward back into that standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find that flat back. And we're going to walk into down dog from here, so it really depends on you, again, what height you want to be. And remember, it's fine to change. If you're like up on the blocks and you think, I wonder if it'd feel better to be lower on the blocks, or I wonder if it'd feel better to have my hands up on the chair. You can try. And then on your next inhale, come on out towards that plank. It is optional to do a back bend here. You don't have to at all. You can come down and do a cobra or a sphinx onto your forearm, so you can come through for an up dog, or no back bend at all, it's fine. And then we'll make our way back again into downward facing dog pose. Walk a little bit, maybe wag your tail around a little bit, and let yourself kind of wiggle a little in dog. And then come on back to that full dog, like you're extended as much as you can into that length of your spine. And on the next inhale, come back to that plank again. And again, it is optional to move through or down or up into a back bend. You don't need to, totally optional. And then we'll make our way back again into downward facing dog pose. And let's bring our left foot forward, come into lunge here. Again, however you need to get it there. And then we'll come on back into standing forward bend again. Feet right underneath us. Hips distance apart, parallel. If you can, lift your toes up here. See if you can feel those four corners of your feet into the mat. So think about if you were to draw an X across the bottom of your foot. So you go from the base of your big toe mound across to your outer heel. And then the same thing from the little toe mound across to the inside. It's kind of like at the base of the arch of the foot, right? So those 4 points of the feet are in the ground. And now slowly let your toes relax back to the floor. Bend your knees a little bit deeper. Feel the weight of your head. One more breath. And then bring your hands up to your hips and rise straight on up to standing. And we'll inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. So if you need to sway a little bit to get centered in your mountain pose, like if it helps you just to easily sway side to side or front to back, by all means do. Whatever helps you get that feeling of being right there centered between your feet. Balanced. And at the same time feeling very effortless to be in your mountain pose. Almost like the air around you is holding you up. Once you're aligned with your pelvis and everything stacks up, it becomes very easy. Nice. And then we'll release our arms on down beside us and shake out a little bit. Move around if you need to, yeah? Good. We're going to do some warriors. So I'm going to turn my chair around. Make sure you have your blocks handy there in case you want them. And let's step back with our right foot and come on into warrior 2. So take your time, get your back foot about parallel to the back edge of your mat, and go ahead and line your heels up and get that left knee bent, no farther forward than your ankle there, so that it feels good. And then release your arms down for a second, and then float the arms a little away from you and start to circle your hands around. So you're circling, but as you do, you're going to rise the arms up. So they're slowly rising up as you keep circling. Now change the direction of your hand circles, but keep going till you get your hands a little bit higher than your shoulders. And then go ahead and release into your warrior 2 arms. Soften the shoulders down. Feel the fingertips reaching away from the midline here. Really enjoy feeling the feet in the floor. Nice. And then let your right hand come on down to your right hip. We're going to straighten that left knee out. And bring your left hand down as you extend out over that leg into triangle pose. So you can use your chair, you can use your leg. You can slide your hand down towards your shin if you want to go that low. You can always stack blocks up if you want. You can use 2 blocks and have your hand on block or blocks behind or in front of that left leg. So thighs are lifting up towards the hips. Right shoulder is drawing up a little bit towards the ceiling. Now, if you want to add your right arm up, you can. Straight up from your shoulder. Feeling the thighs just gently lifting upward. Feeling that length all the way out through the top of your head. Legs are engaging, thighs are lifting up, creating space in your knees. We're going to bend the left knee. We're going to come on back to warrior 2, pressing the feet away from each other as we come. And then we're going to let our hands come down and we're going to turn our feet more parallel. So if you need to, for your wide-legged forward bend, grab a block or 2, go for it. So that when you get your hands down, whatever you want to use, blocks or the floor, take your time and adjust your stance as you bend a knee at a time here. Endeavoring to get your feet pretty parallel. Just take your time. Good. And now, we're going to rotate our heels forward a little bit, so we're turning out from our hips, all right? And we're going to bring our hands to our thighs and rise up into a goddess pose. Rising up, arms straight out from your shoulders, and then bend your elbows to 90 degrees with your palms forward. Now straighten your legs up a little bit at first. And then go ahead and bend your knees a little bit again. So try to just come into the goddess easily. So rising up a little bit to straighter legs and then back a couple of times just to center. Don't go real deep. Let yourself just feel your hips. Good. And now see if you can bring your arms together in front of you in your goddess pose. Bringing your elbows and your hands towards each other. They don't have to touch. And then inhale and open them back out wide. And then again, exhale, bringing your arms forward. And then inhale, open them back. Beautiful. We're going to straighten the legs out again. Bring our arms down. Turn your feet more parallel again. And we're going to come forward again into that wide-legged forward bend. So this time, once you get your hands to what you like to use, walk your hands over to the right. Now you can go all the way over to your foot if you want. You can walk over and hold on to the outside of your right ankle if you want to. Or you can stay out in front of your foot. Stay there and breathe. Feel the left foot gently pressing a little more away from the midline. And then come on back through center and we'll go to the left. So again, you can use your blocks and stay kind of in front of your foot more. You can walk over to hold on to the outside of the ankle if you want to. And then feel the right foot just gently pressing a little more away from the midline. Good. And then we're going to release to come on back into center. And now you adjust yourself where you can stay in the pose for a few breaths and really not feel any kind of discomfort in your body. So If you like to stack your blocks up and use them for your forearms and get out of your hands and need to keep that long back, or maybe you feel better just to bend your elbows and put your elbows above your knees with your knees bent there. You can even put your head on blocks if that feels good. So just be mindful and start to, again, be with your own breaths. So imagining your inhales and exhales are equally important. Which really helps them even out in length. One more breath. As you start to rise up, you decide if you need to bring your feet closer together before you come up, do it. Once you get up, if you're dizzy and you need to stay wide, do it. Or walk your feet on together when you're ready. Move around through your feet and your ankles. Good. And we're going to come to the other side. So stepping our left foot back for warrior two and getting that left foot about parallel to the back edge. Remember, you can send your heel back farther if that's good for you. And then how far apart your feet are, whether it's 2 feet or 3 feet or 4 feet, it's that bend of that front knee that's so important. So just make sure you've got your knee lined up there with the center of your foot. And then release your arms. Now this time, let your hands be loose fists. So they're loose, but you're going to circle these loose fists as you start again to rise the arms slowly up. Switch the direction of the circles when you feel ready to do that. See if you can get the hands a little higher than your shoulders. Good, and then start to reach out, palms down into your warrior two arms, turning your gaze to look out over the top of the right hand. So if you need to adjust the height of your arms, do. See if you can feel like you're equally reaching out through both sets of fingertips. And just for fun, you're trying to imagine making your mat longer with your feet. Press your feet gently away from each other. Very engaged into the hips here now. That strong, powerful warrior two. Left hand is going to come down to our left hip. Our right leg is going to straighten. And our right hand is going to come down for that triangle pose. So again, you can be up as high as you want. Hand can be up on your leg. You can stack blocks up. You can use your chair under your hand. You can put your hand down to a block that's in front of or behind your foot. Draw the left shoulder up, adding that left arm, totally optional. If you like to add the arm up, fine. If you like to keep your hand on your hip, you're extending that torso out over that front leg, feeling the thighs engaging up and lengthening out through the top of the head. Beautiful. One more breath. We're going to bend that right knee, come back into warrior two now. Let the feet press away from each other to find that strength back there from the core of the body. And then bring your hands down. We're going to turn our feet, but this time actually we're going to come into goddess first. So we're going to turn our toes out a little bit. Our heels are going to come in a little bit, and we're going to bend our knees. Now, if you can, see if you can just barely shift a little side to side. Not real deeply. You're just letting your hips go a little tiny bit from side to side with your knees bent. And then come on back into center. Feel how your tailbone is dropping directly down. And then bring your arms straight on out from your shoulders and give yourself a hug. It doesn't matter which arm's on top. Give yourself a big hug. And then release your hands and send the backs of your hands towards each other. Now, you don't have to do a full eagle wrap. You can if you want to. Totally up to you. You can just let the hands go back of the hands towards each other, or you can do your, the hand into the palm. One more breath is all. And now stretch your arms back out straight from your shoulders. T position. And then bring the other arm on top. So don't forget which one you did. Give yourself a hug the other way. And then again, send the hands, backs of the hands towards each other. If you want to go ahead and do a full wrap, you can. If Feel the tailbone still dropping down. Strong legs, really feeling your thighs here, your hips. Good. Unwind those arms again. This time straighten your legs out as you come into your arms out from your shoulders. And then bring your hands a little higher, 5-pointed star. So there you are. You're letting yourself really feel open here across the chest. Make sure you're not tucking your tailbone under you. It's kind of tempting right now. Good. And then bring your arms on down. Turn your feet more parallel. Grab your blocks if you need them as you come on forward into your wide-legged forward bend. Go ahead and shift around a little bit. If you need to bend a knee at a time, let your body kind of take over, right? So if it feels good to bend a knee at a time, ease your way into doing that. Bend both knees if you'd rather. Just play a little bit. Good. And then set yourself up again to be a place where you don't feel any distraction from any kind of discomfort in this pose. Now, obviously, you've got to engage because you're standing up. So you're using your legs, obviously, and your hips and your feet, but try to, as much as possible, let go through your upper body. Feel the weight of your head and let that weight help you feel very released through the spine. Let your jaw go. Watch your breaths again. And one more nice, full, deep breath. Now, before you rise up, you know, if you need to adjust your feet before you do, by all means do. Rising on up and then bringing your feet together when you're ready. And take your time. Walk around a little bit, move through your feet and your ankles. If you're using your chair, you might want to turn it around. But we all want to have our blocks handy in case you want to use them or you want to do kind of a little bit of both. And have your blocks to the highest height. We're all going to bring our hands down either to a chair seat or to the block's highest height. And we're going to step our right foot back first into just a lunge. Just find your regular lunge. Let yourself adjust into your lunge. Let it feel good. Good. And now we're going to draw into pyramid pose, which means most of us will have to bring that back foot in a little bit and then lower the heel down to the floor as both legs are coming straight now into your pyramid pose. So that right heel is turned inward a bit, maybe a 20 or 30 degree turnout in that back foot. Now, whether you have your heels lined up in this pose or you have your feet kind of apart a little bit like they're on narrow railroad tracks, either one is fine. But engage upward with your thighs. Feel that sense of like you're protecting your hamstrings as you're stretching. And feel that length out now through the spine. Feel a nice long back. And then shift your weight to your right hand. Bring your left hand on up to your hip. And then start to roll your left shoulder up. And if you can, put the flat of your palm right there on your low back. See if you can feel that twist right there in the middle of the back here. The feet and the floor equally. Make sure you're not rolling on that left foot to the outside edge of your foot. You can even try lifting your toes up. One more breath. And then bring your left hand on back down. Now, if you like to bow, bend your elbows and bow over that front leg, feel free to do that. If you know that is not for you and makes the pose like really very uncomfortable, don't do it. Sometimes it feels really good and sometimes it doesn't. So one more breath. And then we're going to come up. We're going to bend the front knee. And all we're going to do here is switch our legs out. So stepping forward with the right foot and find lunge with the left foot coming back here first. So getting into the lunge at first, really adjusting there. Should feel kind of like a relief actually. And then to shift into that pyramid pose. That back foot comes down, both legs come straight. That back foot is again turned at maybe 20, 30 degrees out. Heel is on the ground. Thighs are lifting up towards the hips. Try before you even do anything to lift all your toes up on both feet. The back foot can be quite a challenge, but it's fun to try. Make sure you're not rolling on your feet to the outside edges of the feet or the inside edges of the feet. Let the toes release back down. Now feel your thighs lifting up as you lengthen out through your spine and bring your right hand to your right hip and see if you can just roll that right shoulder up. The twist is in the middle of the back. You're fairly level right here on your sacrum. Feel that amazing release through the outside of that right leg. And then we'll bring the hand on back down. Now again, you can stay right here, or if you're like, oh, I really just want to bow over that front leg because it feels so good, you're more than welcome to do that. Just be with your breath. Good. And then let yourself come on back up enough to bend the front knee. So now you're going to step forward and get your feet right underneath you. Adjust into your standing forward bend. Bend your knees quite deeply. Like, think about if you were just putting your belly all the way down onto your thighs. Right? So you're probably bent quite deeply there. Let your hips just shift back a little bit for a bit of release. Good. And then let your hands come to your thighs. Press into your thighs a little bit as you rise on up to standing. Let's inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down together in front of our hearts. So take a couple of breaths. Just enjoy coming into your mountain pose. Maybe feeling pretty lightheaded here. Really enjoying that energy flowing through your body. And then we'll let our arms release on down beside us. Good. Shake out a little bit. Move around. Leave your stuff where it is. But let's all take 2 blocks and go to a wall. So like Joe, if you can be at that wall, okay, and you two are there. Larry, you might want to walk over there somewhere by Janet. And you're good there. I think, Jalen, you have room there, and I think you have room there, Sherry. Welcome, by the way. So, get 2 blocks. Now, we're going to play with this. We'll all do left shoulder towards the wall, okay? And you're going to take your 2 blocks, and you're going to decide if you want to do a warrior 3 or you want to do a half moon. But if you bring your blocks in front of you when your left shoulder's to the wall, your left foot is maybe 3, 4 inches away from the wall, 2 to 4, I'd say. We're going to lift that outside right leg up. There's a warrior 3 if you keep your toes facing down. And you can stay right there. That's fine. If you want to open up into half moon, you can bring your right hand to your hip and open that right toes away from the floor. Let the wall support you, maybe even bringing that top arm up. And that is totally optional. This is all dependent on your hips, right? So if you need to stay with your toes facing down, stay in that warrior 3, you can. And it feels kind of different to have the wall beside you, even for warrior 3. It's kind of fun. So take your time. If you like your half moon, go for that. Good. One more breath. And now let yourself release. Bring your foot down, your hands are down. Bend both your knees for a second. Stay there to let the hips even out a bit. And then we're just going to rise on up because we're going to switch around and go to the other side. So again, you've got your blocks there. Once you get pretty close to the wall with that right block, right, you're so close it's easy to lift that outside leg up. You can even lean into the wall a little bit, and that might be where you want to stay with your left toes facing down for that warrior 3. Especially if you know you have difficulties with the hip and you don't want to do that half moon, don't do it. If you feel fine to let yourself open the toes away from the floor, you can either keep your left hand down and still do that little half moon opening in the hip, Or you can reach your left hand to your hip or stretch the arm up overhead. Totally up to you, you know that. Be mindful. Coming into the strength of that supporting leg and your hips. Good. One more breath. And then let yourself release. Come on back down. Good. And take a hold of your blocks. Turn your back to the wall for a second. And bring one of those blocks between your thighs like we did earlier in class. Where you've got your feet parallel, pretty parallel. They might be wider, of course, because the block's between your thighs above your knees. But just press into the block with your feet there. You can even put the top one on top if you want. Squeeze in. Really feel those hips there. So you're not trying to tuck your tailbone forward here, right? You can really feel your tailbone dropping down. You have the natural curves in your back there. And keep squeezing into the block. So you're very engaged there in your legs. You can bend your knees as deeply as you want. If you want to go deeper, you go deeper. Just make sure if you need to put your feet out farther to go deeper in the bend, do. As you squeeze in, man, it's a totally different feeling than just sitting there, right? We're going to come on up, take that block on out, and let's go back to our own mats, and we're going to go down to sitting. So if you know you need to sit up on a blanket or a block or both or whatever works, let yourself get your strap too. And then sit up as high as you want, or if not, sitting on the floor is fine. We're going to take our strap and we're going to bring the strap around the ball of our right foot and stretch that leg on out. Now, what you do with the other leg, with the left leg, totally up to you. If you can bring the foot in, maybe below the knee is better, maybe above the knee, or maybe your hip or your knee feels a little glitchy and you need to put some support underneath it. So you don't want to put any kind of stress in this knee or in the hip, right? And press the foot into the strap. Feel your heel coming down to the floor here now. And let yourself, as you inhale, lengthen up through your spine. And as you exhale, if you can bend your elbows a little bit to draw yourself forward, you're thinking of the midline of the body coming right out over the inside of this right leg. So it's a very strict forward bend. And if you're like, oh my gosh, I can't go more than an inch, it's okay to move a little bit. If you want to inhale and come back up out of the forward bend, and then exhale, maybe move a little bit towards it. If that feels better than just going and staying, then sometimes just a little bit of movement with the breath is helpful. Or you're more than welcome to go, stay forward, maybe stay there, let your leg adjust, and then maybe you'll be able to ease your way more forward on your next exhale after giving your body time to adjust. So, do where you can. Let it feel really opening for the back of your leg. Good. One more breath. And now we're going to slowly come up. All we're going to do is put our left foot into that strap so we can switch. So again, get situated and bring this right foot in to where is really comfortable for you. And check your foot out here on the strap too, so you make sure you're not sickling your foot. Like if you pull on your strap and you can see your foot's going lopsided either way, you want to try to even out. Push equally into the balls of the foot there, the big toe mound, the little toe mound. And then as you again lengthen up on your inhales and let yourself try to draw a little forward on your exhale. Feel the heel pressing into the floor, drawing back towards you. And again, you can decide to move a little bit. You can let yourself inhale your way back up to sitting and exhale your way a little forward again. Sometimes that allows the hamstring to let go a little bit. Give you a little break, right? So just be mindful, let your body adjust its way. Of course, if you feel like staying forward, you stay. Let yourself be there with your breath. And see if you can really, really watch your breath. More breath here. And then release to come back up. And just go ahead and put both feet into the strap. See if you can let the big toe mounds touch together right here with the strap across both balls of both feet. And see if your heels will separate just a little tiny bit. See how that feels. Let yourself sit up tall. You don't even have to go forward into a forward bend here if you don't want. You can always support your knees with blocks or blankets, and maybe that'll help you come a little more forward if you're really tight in your low back and in your hamstrings. Or you can keep your legs long and try to draw yourself forward from there. And try to be easy if you're coming forward to try not to do this with your chin. Okay, let yourself release the back of your head. You can always, get closer towards your feet if you want to, letting your hands come closer towards your feet on the straps. Just take your time. Good. Wow, very nice. One more breath. Wow, you all are all really coming forward from your low back. And then we'll come on back up. Release your strap on off to the side. We're done with that. And see if you can let the soles of the feet come towards each other and come into a little Baddha Konasana. And you can, if you want, support yourself with your blocks. So if you're sitting in Baddha Konasana and you feel like what your hips want to do when you sit like this is tighten up, right? Like you're trying to tighten up in your hips, then just a little support maybe will let you do the opposite. Let you let go in your hips. And just allow the pose as you lengthen up through the top of your head. Let the pose just allow you to find more space in your hips, really. You can come forward if it feels even better to you. Same coming forward from the low back that all of you just did in your forward bend. So that if that feels good and it brings even more release into your inner thighs, you can. If sitting up tall is better for you, stay tall. Let yourself just release there. Imagine your knees are just reaching away from the midline of your body. Slowly come back up. Bring your knees on up. Stretch your legs out in front of you for a second. Shake out just a little bit. Good. And now we're going to turn. I'm going to come over here because I'm going to get you a bolster. But we're going to take our bolsters and we're going to put them behind us so that we can lie back on it and so that we're completely supported. You're completely supported on your back by that bolster. Now your bottom is on the floor, right? So you're not sitting up on the bolster. You are sitting kind of in front of the edge of the bolster. You might want to have your blocks handy. And if you have a blanket, some of you might want to put a blanket underneath your head to have your head up higher than your chest. That might feel better to you. Now you can keep your knees up, let yourself kind of adjust how far your hips are away from the bottom of the bolster. That makes a huge difference too. So how deeply, you have that going on there is up to you. And then having that support under your head. I'm going to start to walk around. You can also put your soles of your feet together in that Baddha Konasana where you're in and put your blocks underneath your knees and be totally supported there, and see how that feels. This is a supported or restorative back bend, right? In other words, it needs to feel good, not bad. So let me know how it feels. You've never done this. I don't think so, but I love it. It's comfortable. Yeah. You look pretty comfortable. You like the blocks under your legs? Is it? Sure. It feels good. Once you get that spot, how does it feel? Good? You feel open across your chest? Yeah. Sometimes if you bring your arms out and turn your palms up, then it feels even more open across your chest, but that's not for everybody. Gosh, right. Yeah, I mean, it just allows this openness. Margaret, you okay? You look pretty comfortable. Joe, you want a blanket under your head?
No, okay.
I think you need a blanket.
No, I feel really good, actually.
Do you?
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna bring it, and if you tell me to take it out, I'll take it out.
That might be all right. Thank you.
Tell me not to do it.
No, it's better.
Thank you. I thought it was good.
Yeah, it's really good.
Okay, yeah. Since you could hardly talk before.
I was kidding.
So just let yourself, we're just gonna stay here for like a couple of minutes, which doesn't sound like very long, but it really kind of is. If you're able to come into a few 3-part breaths here, thinking about inhaling into your belly, then your ribs, and then up into your chest. And when you exhale, imagine the breath coming out of your chest first, and then your ribs, and then your belly. It's very easy to feel the movement of those 3-part breaths in this pose. But don't force it. If you feel like you're trying to make yourself do this, just stop and just release and breathe. And you can change your legs. So if you're starting to feel like uncomfortable, you can bring your knees up, you can stretch your legs long if you'd rather. Because you don't want to start to feel uncomfortable in your low back. Now, to come out of this, that's kind of the tricky part, right? So you are up, you've got to decide, we want to take everything out from under us so we can lie back down just flat on the floor. So you might have to roll kind of off to your side to press up enough to shove that bolster off away from you. And when you come back down onto your back, let your feet be on the floor And for a second, just feel how you feel. If you feel better to stretch your legs long for a couple of breaths, do that. So that you can feel how you feel both in the front and the back of your body after being in that supported back bend for a few minutes. Good. And now let yourself bring your right knee in towards your chest. And you can hold it behind your thigh. You can hold right below your knee on your shin. Just gently draw your toes back so the feet are gently flexed. And then use your right hand to draw your right knee a little more over to the right, like you're drawing the knee up towards your armpit. Your left hand can just rest on the top of your left hip. And then bring the knee back up into center. Let your left hand come over to your right knee. Stretch your right arm out beside you on the floor. And you can draw that knee over to the left as far as you want to go, right? You may want to go 2 inches and keep your right hip closer to the floor. Or you may want to go over farther and farther into a deeper twist in this pose. So take your time. Let your right shoulder stay grounded. If it feels good to turn your head to the right, you can let your head turn to look over to the right. And then we're going to slowly bring the knee on back into center. And let's bring our left knee in. Stay both knees in for a second. Kind of pull your knees in to let your back release to the floor. And then bring your right foot down and extend your right leg down long so that now you're holding either right below your left knee there or behind your thigh. Flex both your feet, just gently, just so you feel that little bit of engagement. And then let your left hand draw that knee to the left and up a little bit towards your armpit. Your right hand can just rest on your right hip pointer bone. You're just staying grounded through that right hip. And then come on back into center. Right hand comes over to the left knee. Stretch your left arm out beside you as you bring that knee to the right again. It is totally up to you how far you go. And you can turn your heads a little more to the left if that feels really good to add the upper back and your neck into that twisting equation. You can. Totally up to you. One more breath. And then once you bring your knee back into center, let both knees come on in and go ahead and send your feet up. You can either do a little happy baby here, or maybe it feels better to just stretch your legs long and do a little bit of movement of the legs back and forth. Or you can open to wide angle. In other words, you're going to start to listen to your own body. What feels good right now? Do you need to stretch out in a way that feels really good? Do you need to come into another pose? Doesn't have to be. You can do any kind of little movement that helps you feel better. Just be mindful. Let it feel like your body is adjusting its way so you'll be able to be comfortable for Shavasana. That's the important part. So be mindful here of giving yourself time, right? If you start to stretch out and you know that you need to do some other little movement or pose or stretch, do it. I'm going to start to walk around. Now everybody's already got bolsters, so you're more than welcome to use those. I can come bring the one you have, put it under your knees for you though if you need to. If that sounds good. Good. Let yourself get comfortable. I can bring extra anything else too that you might need. Like if you feel like you'd rather have a another blanket for something, or a blanket for underneath your head. You don't have one already, let me know. And just allow yourself to find a really comfortable place for your arms and your legs. You know, you may need to let your arms move to a little bit different place. You may need your legs to come a little bit different distance apart. And just let yourself now be with your own breath. Nothing you need to do in order to breathe. Just let yourself accept your inhales and your exhales easily. Watching the breaths like you would if you were watching the waves of the ocean going in and out. Just give yourself time to find those little quiet places by refocusing onto your breath. Trusting that your body will get what it needs. And just allow yourself to completely and fully relax. your breath, wanting to come in and go out more fully and deeply. Feeling those deeper breaths come in to physically move the body again, and let yourself wiggle your fingers and toes, moving when you're ready on up into your arms, your legs, and let your body move the way you need. Stretch or bend. You know you're welcome to roll to either your right or your left side. If you're comfortable to come onto your side, you can stay there for a little bit in that soft fetal position. Maybe using your arm as a pillow if you don't have a blanket there. Just give yourself a little adjustment time so that when you do feel like you're ready to rise up, it feels okay again to start to get your head up above your heart again and let yourself sit comfortably, however feels good for your hips, whether you need to stretch your legs out or you like to cross them or you like to put a blanket underneath you or a bolster. You have bolsters there too. They can be really nice to sit on. And just let yourself release upward through the top of your head. Let your eyes be gently closed. And come back to watch your breath. Just a few breaths coming in and going out through your nose again. Feeling that energy coming back now that you're upright again. And on your next exhale, allow your hands to gently come to meet again there in front of your chest, in front of your own heart. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste.
Namaste.
Happy Thursday. Happy, a little bit cooler weather too.
That's beautiful.